Show of hands. Who here has ever struggled where you feel like you're constantly doing the same workouts and you're constantly getting the same results? Has anybody ever struggled with that? Bunch of guys. Okay, cool. Who here has ever tried something? Maybe it was a water cut, or maybe it was like Mike Hoffman. I'm looking at you, for example. Maybe it was like a new workout split where all of a sudden it's like, hey, you're changing up things slightly, maybe a little bit, right? And you start seeing better progress. Has that ever happened with anybody? Okay, perfect. So, Bill, you never saw any better progress or any different results? Gabe, did you put your hand up too? Somewhat? Okay, well, cool.
Sorry, I
Well,
was chewing and eating.
you're good. I'm just busting your balls. So, has any of you guys, I talked about this a bunch before in the past, and I feel like maybe the last 8 months, maybe longer, we've been on such a roll with talking about nutrition, talking so much about, mindset that we also forgot too much to talk about the workouts. Has anybody ever heard of the RPE scale before? Does anybody know what that is? Show of hands. Okay, solid. Okay. Actually, put your hands up. I want to see that one more time. Who here has heard of the RPE scale? Wow, just Mike. Okay, cool. So, Mike, is it cool if I dive into it and just
Go
explain it, or
for
do
it,
you
brother.
want to? You want me to?
Go for it.
Okay, cool. So, guys, your RPE scale, reps per exertion, all right? It's a rate. In fact, let me just do this. I will pull it up for you guys. That way you guys can see as I talk about it. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because I want you guys continue to strive. I want you guys continue to get good results, right? But what is going to get you the results today, meaning like everything that you've already been doing before in the past, if you're trying to amplify that, if you're trying to get even better results, you have to learn how to push yourself. And it all boils down to the intensity, right? And so it doesn't matter if you work out at the gym, it doesn't matter if you work out at home, you can always improve on your workouts. Like if you think about it, you can even take a supplement to improve on your workouts. You can take some pre-workout that might hype you up, right? I'm not saying you need to do that, but I'm saying having the right intensity, having the right mindset for your workouts can make a small little shift to just helping you guys see better results. And granted, keep in mind, right? I'm going to sound like a broken record here. The workouts are just the icing on the cake, right? We can agree on that. The nutrition, the mindset, that's the batter, that's the foundation. But with that being said, we still need to utilize our training, still need to utilize our workouts to push ourselves for two reasons. One, helps us step outside of our comfort zone. And then most importantly, like the second reason is that if we're looking at your TDEE chart, right? Your total daily energy expenditure chart. Let me actually pull that one up too. Let me do a screen share. Let me get Chris in here real quick. Okay. Can you guys see my screen okay? Thumbs up. All right. I'm going to go to the your TDE calculator or TDE chart first, just so this all makes sense. And then we'll go right back to the RPE. So as far as here we go. This is a good one. This is a good one, okay? So as far as this goes, this is your total daily energy expenditure, meaning that your BMR, right, your resting metabolic rate. Hey, Chris Bronk, would you mind muting yourself? There's like some echo or some static I hear. Thank you. Your TDEE chart, right? This is your total daily energy expenditure. And the big bulk of this is your BMR, your resting metabolic rates, your basal metabolic rate, same exact thing, right? It means that pretty much when you're not moving at all, if let's just say you laid in bed all day long, you didn't move a muscle, you didn't eat anything, you're still burning calories. You're burning a big bulk of calories just with your muscles, with your organs, everything like that. Your brain just constantly thinking, right? You're burning calories. Why do you think that people that play chess, they actually burn a lot of calories just by playing chess? Because you're constantly thinking, so it's really cool and unique how the body is all designed here. But then going up the list, right, we have NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So just fidgeting, right? Moving around your hands, moving around your body, getting some steps in, being active, right? Not working out, just being active. That is going to help you burn, obviously, some calories. And then we have TEF, right? The thermic effect of food, right? To simplify this, just eat protein, right? It's higher up the thermic effect of food because of all the amino acids, right? It helps your body, obviously, break down, fat more, build more lean muscle tissue. That's going to help us out. with this right here, your BMR. But at the very top is eat, right? That is your exercise activity thermogenesis. Somebody could look at this and say, what is the point of me even working out if I burn very little calories? And in case you guys don't know, like some people might say, um, hey Joe, is it more beneficial for me to go to a run, go for a run or do some cardio? Because I feel like I burn way more calories in that time frame than I do working out. Like to answer short term, yes, like you do burn more calories doing cardio. You do burn way more calories than doing strength training. But the cardio, guys, that's just a tool to help you stay within a calorie deficit. It does not actually help you put on muscle, lean muscle tissue on your body, right? What's going to help you out with that is the strength. Out of everything, it's the strength training, right? It's the working out, whether that's at home, whether that's at the gym, whatever the case may be, right? That's going to help you with overall improve on your BMR, right? Which is the bulk of your daily calories that are being burned. Because if let's just say, right, muscle weighs more than fat, which it does, and we had somebody that is 40% body fat sitting down all day, not moving a muscle, and somebody that's 10% body fat sitting down, not moving a muscle, and yet they weighed exactly the same, let's say 200 pounds. Well, the person that's 10% body fat who has more lean muscle tissue on them, they're going to be burning way more calories than somebody that's, let's say, 40%, even though they weigh exactly the same. Okay. So I want to preference all that before we dive into the RPE scale because with just the training, right? Whether once again you're at the gym, whether you're working out at home, with or without equipment, having the right intensity can obviously help you just, hey, develop more lean muscle tissue, which overall is going to help you lose more body fat. So, with that being said, let's go to the RPE scale. In case you guys don't know what this is, Mike, you were the only one that raised your hand. So, I'm going to give you guys the good rundown of this, okay? Oh, hey, Bill, Jimmy's hopping in the chat too. So, we're going to bust his balls for a little bit after this. But guys, the RPE scale, right? 1 being the lowest, or 0 if you want to even call it that, 10 being the max. And what this is your rate of perceived exertion, aka how many reps do you have left in the tank? Like if anybody's ever, tried to do a PR, whether it's a squat, bench, deadlift, a shoulder press, anything like that, and like maybe you can't even do like let's just bench, right? Maybe you're pressing up on that barbell and you can't even get it, That's called an RPE 10, right? Because you can barely even do 1 rep. Like it is your max effort. And let's say if, you're, I don't know, Jeremy Wade, right? And you're benching 315 for, let's say, 3 reps, and you really want to go for, let's say, 4 reps or 5 reps, but hey, you can't really get there, but yet you're content with doing the 3 reps. Like that I would say, consider like an RPE a 9 because you still have some reps in reserve, or you still have some rate of perceived exertion left where, hey, maybe on a good day or a better day, maybe we had some pre-workout, we can maybe hit that rep range that we want, but still nonetheless, we're still lifting some good amount of weight here. We're not touching around some baby weights, right? So the reason why understanding this scale, this chart is so important is because once again, it's going to help you when it comes to your own training. And this could be either at the gym, this could be either at home with or without equipment. And the main purpose of all this, guys, is once again to change your mindset in terms of how you look at your workouts. I tell you what, like the biggest thing that has always helped me in terms of like my training with my own mindsets and why I show up, even on the days I don't feel like it, still show up, right? It all boils down to, hey, I get the opportunity to show up today and become better versus I have to do this. Like once you really truly understand and get that down, guys, it is the biggest mindset shift ever. You look at your workouts differently. You look at your workouts as an opportunity for you to improve, for you to grow, but also to just say, hey, I actually have the opportunity to get to do this today, as opposed to somebody else that, hey, they would be wishing to trade places to be in my shoes, or, maybe they can't even afford a gym membership or whatever the case may be. Maybe they're a below knee amputee because they're, diabetic or something like that, and they can't even, work out properly. So it's like we are all blessed so much. And yet for our workouts, I feel like maybe we take it for granted. We kind of just show up and go through the motions. Well, if we're showing up or going through the motions, hey, like we're just going to get the same results that we constantly have been getting. So in order for us to improve and get better results, it starts with one, a better mindset. And second, how we look as our workouts in terms of intensity. Okay. So I want to open this up before we go into more about like the mindset and the identity, and then we'll finish up with the emotional eating with Brian. And I'm sorry if I'm talking pretty fast, guys, because I'm trying to blitz through all this. But I want to know from you guys, right? Like Mike, I'm gonna go to you first because you understand that chart, right? So I want to know, what is your guys' mindset? What is your guys' intensity for your workouts? And then I literally want to hear from as many people as possible. Is like either one, ask, hey, how can I step it up? How can I, if I have access to just body weight, what can I do to improve on more? If I have access to just dumbbells, or if I have access to a kettlebell, or whatever the case may be, like what can I do? Or hey, I'm suffering with this with my limitation because of an injury. What can I do to improve? So maybe you're in that category. I want to talk about that. But then I mainly want to hear about how you guys, like, what has helped your mindset when it comes to improving on your workouts, when it comes to, helping you with the right intensity going into the workouts. Mike, you want to start off?
Sure. So I mean, for me personally, like I'm always aiming, unless I'm doing a deload, I'm always aiming for a 7, 8 RPE for my workout. So, and for me, that's like, okay, I'm getting to the end of my third set. I can't push anymore.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question, right? And that's good, right? There's nothing wrong with that at all. But for that last set, right? Like you mentioned that you always go for a 7 or 8 for the RP, or is that what you start with and you try to finish with like a 9?
I try to aim for a 7, 8. So based, like, and maybe I'm doing it wrong, but my mindset around it is, I'm on that third set and I'm aiming for the low rep range of that aim set to that. Like I'm barely pushing. Like if my low rep range is 10, I'm struggling to push that 10th rep.
Okay. So for starters, right, Mike, how much weight have you lost inside this program?
70 pounds.
What's all the medications that you got off of?
High blood pressure, high cholesterol, and got off of my doctor warning me that I was pre-diabetic.
Okay. And the reason why I want you to remind yourself that is because there's no way you're doing anything wrong. Okay. Like there's flexibility to this, guys. So like there's not a wrong way, there's not a right way. It's just a way to say, okay, hey, if Mike, this is what you have been doing, and like maybe you're happy with the results, or maybe you just want better results, right? What are some changes, some nuances that we can do to improve on this? So you mind if I coach you real quick?
Please.
Your first set, yes, 7 to 8, right? Like 7 to 9 is my sweet spot, honestly. Okay. But your second set, right? This is where I want you to focus on just increasing a little bit. So, for example, let's just say it's the plate loaded bench machine at Planet Fitness. Okay. And I have on there 3 sets, 8 to 12 reps. And that's typically common, right? Most of you guys that have workouts, it's typically 8 to 12 reps. And the reason why, it's your sweet spot for strength and hypertrophy, right? Especially that 8 rep range. Okay. If you're somebody that's constantly doing 3 sets, always 12 reps, you're never increasing the weight, you're only hurting yourself. Okay. So, Mike, I know that's not you, but I want to say that just because this is being recorded, somebody can listen in and be like, oh, got it, right? That's super valuable. I needed to know that. So, Mike, for you, back to the plate loaded, I would say, what do you typically start off with? Like 3 sets, 8 to 12 reps. What's on the bar?
Well, I'm gonna reference what I'm doing right now. So I'm doing 4 sets, 12, 10, 8, 6.
Okay.
So my first set of 12 is on that is 250 pounds.
250 pounds. Okay, cool. So, and you said you're typically doing that for like 7 or 8 on the RPE scale. So you could realistically get 15, right?
Probably.
Okay, cool. So let's leave that, because anytime you're first working set, like, yeah, you want to make sure you're warmed up and you don't want to, like, kill yourself, risk injury, obviously, because that's potential anytime you're lifting heavier weights. But that second set, 10 reps, you said, how much weight is now on there? You said you started off at what, 250?
I started at 250, so I've been adding about 20 pounds per set.
Okay. So 20 pounds total, or 20 pounds on each side?
20 pounds total.
Okay. So all I want you to do is literally just jump from, instead of putting the tens on each side, just put a 25 on each side.
Okay.
It's a small jump in terms of like the plates, big jump in terms of numbers, because now you're going from what, 20 pounds to
50 pounds.
50 pounds, right? But see what happens, right? Because now potentially, if you're normally getting, um, the 250 or the 270, right, for the second set for, let's say, 10 reps, and you could potentially do 12. Well, now if you're jumping it up a little bit and now you're getting, 10 reps, and it's like, man, I'm pushing, I can barely get 11. I bet you anything like that's going to help you improve. And remember, guys, it's not so much about making like these big strides. Like, oh, one day I'm, just running, the next day I'm doing backflips and burpees. It's not about that, right? It's just these small little tweaks. That's it. Small little tweaks in terms of like where and how to make improvements on, you know? Who else? So Mike, that was great. Who else, guys? Whether you go to the gym, whether you work out at home. Brian?
Yeah, so my goal every time I go to the gym, it doesn't always happen obviously, but I try to always get a PR on every my goal. I mean, if it never happens that every single movement I get a PR, but I try to do that. Like, and so what I do is I look at my last week's, whatever the weights are, and then I always start like, so if my first one was 100, say I'm doing leg extension. And my last week, my first set was 120 this week. And then I increased 5 pounds every set. I'll go off. Okay, well, I'm gonna start off at the middle one, and then I constantly am increasing my weight as I go. Sometimes that backfires. Sometimes I start too high, and then it's like, oh crap, I can't even get like that happened to me this last week. And I think partly because I did double workouts 2 days in a row where I just didn't have the energy to push as hard as I needed to, but I had to back down as I went through my sets. Does that make sense? So if it was a 12, 10, 8, I had to go, oh, this one only did 8. So I just put it in the 8 slot and then try to keep lowering it until I could do the 12. And I noticed the numbers were hugely decreased when I do a 2 day workout versus like a 1 day workout. Like I noticed that's a big problem sometimes. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because you want to listen to your body too. Like if you overdo it way too soon, like yeah, you could
yeah,
burn out, right? Because you're lifting
yeah.
heavier. Question for you though, have you ever tried doing like drop sets?
That's where is that where you start with a certain number of sets and then you lower explain it to me, I guess. Sorry.
You kind of got it, but like
Yeah.
so you mentioned that hey, you were doing your leg extensions, I believe you said, and that's where it's like you were supposed to get 10 reps, but you only got what, 8 you said?
Yeah, something like that. It wasn't necessarily on that one. It's a lot of it's on the lat pull down. I noticed like that
Yeah.
happens to me a lot where I start like, oh man, I can't do like I did like because obviously week to week I feel like I have strength increases and decreases if depending on what's going on. I really feel like that happens. So
Yeah, no, for sure. Same thing with me, right? Some weeks I'm
yeah.
lifting heavy, some weeks I'm focusing on more volume and focusing on more of like decreasing this the rest in between each exercise. So that's where like supersets or drop sets might come in handy for you. So let's just use the lat pull downs, right? So this is good for anybody where it's like, hey, I'm trying to hit this weight, maybe on lat pull downs, bench press, leg press, anything like that, and you get stuck. We're like, man, I'm trying for 8, trying for 10, can't get it at all, right? Like you're pushing, you're pushing, you're pushing. Do a drop set. Okay. Two ways to do it. The first way is just lower the weights and you can finish off the reps. So if let's just say for lat
Oh,
pull downs, right? You have 8 to 12 reps, maybe that third set or second set, whatever the case may be, you stop at like 5. You got a lot of weight on there. You're pulling. It's like, oh man, your form's starting to go to crap. So it's like, all right, hey, just throw it back up on there, right? Well, instead of you taking a rest, Brian, just put the pin right in on a lower weight and you can finish off your rep ranges. Okay. But I'm gonna teach you something that has worked tremendously well for me. Okay. It's go down, like you don't have to go down a lot, but you don't have to go down a little bit either. Find a good sweet spot for you and make it where you just go to form failure. Okay. What does that mean?
okay.
Well, there's a muscle fatigue where, hey, you start risking your form. And once you notice, so if let's just say you have, we'll use blanket numbers, 120, right, on the lat pull downs. And let's just say that, hey, you're supposed to get 8 reps, you stop at 5. So you got 3 more. Now, sure, you can bring that weight down to, let's say, 100 pounds and finish off those 3 reps. You can, but what I recommend is like maybe going to 90 pounds and just going to failure, right? Until like your form just
Oh,
crap. You, I don't want to say you, but like I personally have found so much growth and so much changes in my own body composition when I do it like that. Because if you think about it, it's a really good drop set between strength and then the muscle fatigue, the muscle failure, aka the hypertrophy range, right? It's a good sweet spot. So try that out.
I do so I just realized I do the drop set most of the time. If I can't finish a set, I will, because I think when you were talking early, this was a previously, you had said like the sets are there for a reason, the number of sets, like at least the bottom number of the set, because you want to have so many movements, so many reps within that set. So if you can't, you only get half of it, you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't finish the next four. So I do that. I do the drop set, but I like the failure one because that's really because that's what I'm looking to do is the growth of the muscle. Like, how do I push it to where next time I'm maybe stronger and I can then do the whole set,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I mean, like I said, you already focused on the strength too, and you already kind of like burnt out on that. So when you go to the failure next, I mean, that helps out, man. Give that a try next time, you know? Who else, guys, right? Like whether you go to the gym, whether you work out at home, Jeff?
So I'll look at the workout that I'm going to be doing to see if based on the previous week, I'm always like Brian and Mike, I'm always trying to do another PR
Yeah.
someplace. At least one, maybe two, once in a while. At the beginning, everybody was doing a lot because you're getting used to it. But
Yeah.
last week, I think I must have had a really bad day and I kept pushing it and didn't realize how many I actually had when I looked at the end. But usually there are certain workouts that I know I can get two or three guaranteed because I'm going to push myself on something I know I can do a little bit more. Um, I sometimes look around the gym and I'm like, okay, they're watching the old man do all this weight. Can he really do it? But I try. And that's a good pointer because sometimes I'll put on too much weight for the third or fourth set if there is one in one of the routines, and I'll just stop. So now I'll just scale it back and finish the number of reps.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. I tell you what though, man, that's motivating. Have a little, powwow of people, hey, this old guy gonna be benching this much or something like that. That's motivating for me, man, if I was in your shoes.
Well, there's the main gym I belong to because I belong to Planet Fitness near me and then my regular gym. So they have this lot, I call it the big boy weight room downstairs. And, you know, all the 20s and 30 something kids are down there. Occasionally, maybe a few people in their 50s, but that's all that's down there. And I'm like, some of them actually start talking to me. So I'm like, okay, maybe you'll help me push this next set. And usually that happens with the bench press. I will push much higher. I mean, I've done more, but I can't get up to that weight again. But, I have somebody to help me maybe.
For sure. For sure. Let's talk about home workouts, guys. So we got Bill, we got Jeff, Coons, right? I think that's it. That's on here, Home workouts. How can we improve on that, right? A bunch of the guys, right? Spartans. How can we improve on that? Start throwing some stuff out there. I'm gonna give you guys, right, in terms of like how I feel like you guys can make some improvements and some strides, but I want you guys to think about it first, right? Going back to the learning pyramid, hey, you're absorbing in that information, you're rinse and repeat, you're spinning back out. It's only to help you guys improve. Jeff Coons, you unmuted yourself, man.
So I'm trying to get back into things after being off it for about a month again. But what I started doing, like with my arm workouts, was slowing down my
Yeah,
reps. So I was going like, quite a bit faster. Now I'm like slowly doing a rep. I don't know if that's necessarily helpful or not, but I feel like it's harder.
so it is definitely a way of progressive overload for sure, right? Because if you think about progressive overload, you can either lift heavier weights, you can lift more, right? AKA volume. You could decrease on the rest intervals in between each set, or you can just do any form of time under tension, whether that is slow and control or whether that is literally like isolating the muscle, static holds, something like that that's just putting tension on the muscle itself. So it's definitely a form, right, of progressive overload. But Jeff, I want to ask you now, right? Going back to the RPE scale, that's how we got started with today's conversation. What is your like if you got to rate yourself? Okay, hey, you have these curls or you have this workout. I know you said you're just slowly getting back into it, so it might be a little bit different now. But I guess like what is your ranking if you had to rank yourself for like how hard you actually train during your workouts?
Probably a 6.
Okay. So now let me ask you, what can you do to become a 7? Not an 8, not a 9, not a 10. And this is very key that everybody hears what I just asked. Okay. Small progress over time leads to big results. Okay. We're not trying to bite off too much that we can chew. So, Jeff, for you, how do we go from a 6 to a 7?
Buying some more dumbbells. That'd be probably the quickest one for me. To do heavier
Well,
weight. So I'm capped out at about 20-pound dumbbells. What I've got. So
so let's
getting
talk about that though, right? Like, so that way you don't have to make that purchase. Because there's some people that they work out, they don't even have access to equipment, right?
right.
So for example, like your workouts, right? The dumbbell circuits and all that stuff. Um, I know you said, hey, if I lift up heavier weights, if I bought heavier dumbbells, that would definitely make me to strive to become a 7. But before I give you any tips, any feedback, because my mind's going so many different directions. You can do this. It's just knowledge that I have that I want to give to you, but I want this to be applicable to you, right? I don't want this to be a fire
Right.
hydrant of just, hey, do all this. Where do you feel like you can make improvements besides buying heavier equipment?
Another set, maybe, as far as another set, because I'm doing 3 sets of each thing, and I'm getting to the point where I'm maxing out the number of reps on the sets. So sometimes I have energy to do a 4 set.
Okay, so that's perfect. Yes, you can do that. Could you also do way more reps than what's required on the program?
Yeah,
Okay.
probably so.
So you can do that. So that's another one, right? And I want you just to think about this, put your thinking cap on, okay? One thing that I personally like to do, I love doing my home workouts. Like I love going to the gym in the mornings, but when I do my Spartans, like I have literally like give me like 30 minutes. I'm in my, basement and I'm doing a whole bunch of different stuff, okay? Typically finish up my workouts, my Spartans challenge, the whole 9 yards, okay? What I've personally been doing is challenging myself to say, hey, what is the exercise that I just despise today? Not yesterday, not tomorrow. What is one thing that comes to my mind that I absolutely despise today? And I'll just do that in between each set. So, for example, right, I did this yesterday. I hate thrusters with a passion. Like thrusters and burpees, they go in the same category, okay? It is hard, is it intense? And I told my son, right? This was actually, I think on Monday. I told my son, I said, hey, if you make me tap out in wrestling, I'll work out. It's like a little thing that me and Oakley do now, where it's like, hey, we wrestle, so we get it, our exercise in through there, but we'll also play a little game with it. If I make him tap out, he has to do an exercise later on that day. If he makes me tap out, vice versa, And it's a lot of fun because we're both exercising. We're both, trying to win this wrestling match. So, anyways, he taps me out, right? I put my pride, I put my ego aside. The kid got some strength, right? For a 6-year-old. He taps me out. Okay. And I did not want to do thrusters to save my life. All right, Jeff. But you know what? Successful people do what they have to do, whether they feel like it or not. So I'm downstairs doing my little circuit. I got my ab roller. That's something that I recently made a purchase on. I've been doing that, incorporating that in there. I'm doing my ab mat and I'm doing my push ups. But now in between, I'm doing a set of 15 thrusters, right? So I think I did maybe like 4 sets total. Sucked. But you know what? My workout was way better, Jeff. And on top of that, I felt way better afterwards, wrestling match with my son to do something I just dislike. Okay. And that is a way where my workouts have improved on. Okay. Where, hey, I don't have access to a whole bunch of equipment, Jeff, right? Just like me. I have access to a pair of dumbbells right now. And that's pretty much it. So it's like, hey, what can I do to just make it harder for me? Can I just add in another exercise? Something that despises, right? I despise something that sucks because it not only is going to push me to become physically better, but also mentally better. Does that make sense?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. What else, guys? Who else? Right? Let's keep the conversation going back with the home workouts, and then we'll dive into a little bit about the mindset. Jeff G, Bill, and I think that's it. Tom, maybe, right? What about for some of you other guys that work out at home? Like what are some ways to make improvements? Jeff G, you're gonna slowly get back into the workouts here and there. I got you hooked up with some new boxing workouts also that I'm excited for you to kind of test out and try, but
Nice.
don't think in terms of like the injury right now. Think in terms of like, hey, if you're not dealing with that injury, and just mentally think like, okay, in a perfect world, how hard are you training? Like on that RPE scale, right? Like where would you rate yourself?
Uh,
I'd say maybe somewhere in the 6, 7 range, right? And where what I tried to do last time was, with that adjustable kettlebell, like get it to a point where it felt like, when I rated the workouts, it was more moderate than hard. And that was kind of my indicator that it's okay, it's time to either increase the reps. And then when I couldn't take that anymore, increase it by another 5 pounds and start doing those gradual increases. That's how I was doing it with the kettlebells last time.
Yeah, that's fine. A good measure also, this is for everybody to understand. How much are you like huffing and puffing? Either in
Right.
between each exercise, in between each set, or maybe after workouts. Like, are you dripping in sweat? Like, that's actually how you know if you're actually pushing or not. Because if you're dry, there's no sweat. Like, hey, and you're texting in between each set or texting in between each round or whatever the case may be. Obviously, like, yes, we're working out, but are we actually like focusing on the intensity of the workout? No, right?
Right.
We're not, engaged as much as we could be. We don't have that mind muscle connection. We're not pushing ourselves. So going back to you, Jeff, like, where do you feel like you can make some improvements on to just like as you get back into the workouts and you're 100% back in, after the injury? Okay, hey, how do we improve from maybe a 6 to a 7 or from a 7 to an 8?
Well, I think some of the ideas we talked about, I think you had some different workout circuits that were a little longer. So, maybe another sequence through it, right? The gradual increase. And again, just making sure I feel it, that I'm just not going through the motions when I'm doing it, right? It's like, that's the whole point of doing it, is to get stronger. If I don't feel like it's pushing me, then, it's time to modify something. More reps, more weight, right? Those are the two indicators that I tried to implement as I was building it up last time.
You just said it best. And like that was what I wanted to focus on today's topic. Like, how do I name this? But you just said it. Going through the motions. Show of hands, guys. Who here has been through the showing of the motions, right? You go through it. Plenty of times
Mhm.
with me, right?
Mhm.
And that's where, once again, like, hey, we change up the workouts, we change up the exercises, we change up the rep ranges, we change things up, not for the simple fact of, oh, hocus pocus and instantly you're going to lose a whole bunch of body fat or put on a whole bunch of muscle because you're doing this exercise compared to this exercise, or this push pull routine compared to this 5-day routine. It has nothing to do with that at all. It has everything to do with just getting your mindset back on, okay, hey, how do we actually just get that mind muscle connection? Because that's what it boils down to, if you think about it. And like, that's why that RPE scale is so good to just think about it like, okay, how have I been really training here? Have I not been pushing myself? And then if that's the case, what can I do to push myself more? You know, one thing, guys, that I personally been doing that, this is just sharing golden nuggets with you, sharing tips with you guys to help you guys improve because it's been helping me improve, right? For anybody that has kids, do some freaking push-ups with your kids on your back, right? Like Brian, Jason, like you guys know, you guys have little ones, right? Just like how Oakley is. Like those kids, they get big pretty fast. And so it starts to wear on your arms a little bit. Pretty soon it's like, oh man, I'm struggling to just do like 15 push-ups. Well, guess what? Right? 15 regular push-ups compared to 15 push-ups with a 50-pound, weight on my back, aka Oakley. Hey, that's gonna work my muscles a lot more. Some of you guys that don't have kids, or maybe your kids are all grown up and out of the house, hey, you can also do diamond push-ups, right? You can get the reins. I talk about those because now you're getting a little bit more depth, right? Better range of motion. You could uh you could put, this is what I personally enjoy because it takes a lot of pressure off my shoulders, is I put my feet on my couch and I do decline push-ups. Has anybody ever gave those a try? Nobody? Mike has? I bet you anything. The next time you guys have a Spartans challenge, do your workouts with your feet on the couch, right? Like you will feel it 10 times more in your chest, in your triceps, but also less pressure off your shoulders. Okay. We got 15 minutes left. I still want to talk about the mindset a little bit. And then I really want to wrap things up with you, Brian, talking about the emotional eating, right? Being a little guinea pig for this little exercise. Okay. Does anybody have any questions though? Right? Relating back to the RPE scale, relating back to intensity, to just say, hey, Joe, like I need more help in this area, or hey, Joe, I need to improve more on this, or I need, how can I do this better? Brian?
Yeah, my question is, sometimes depending on how my week goes, I have to do all my workouts on the weekend. So how many days of rest? Like, so if I were to take this is really dumb, I know, and I don't try to do this every week, but if I had 5 days off in a row, how much, I guess the question is, how much time is too much rest off before you start lifting again? Is there a sweet spot, or is it just dependent on what you're doing?
I'm gonna coach you. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, for starters, like it's okay to have 5 days off from the gym, but keep in mind, you should never have 5 days off from working out and exercising, even
Okay.
if you don't make it to the gym, because like how you ask that question, it showcased to me like, oh man, I can't make it to the gym today. I can't make it to the gym because that is going to hurt you in the long run. And here's exactly the reason why. It's all in, all out mentality, right?
Okay.
Being like, hey, when I'm at the gym, great day, right? Crushed it, nutrition's on point. But then it's like, hey, I can't make it to the gym today because of work or because of the kids or family. It starts giving yourself more chances, right? To make excuses to say, well, let's fall off on the nutrition. Let's do this. Let's do this instead. We're not working out anyways, right? So your mindset should be this, Brian, is how do I work out every single day? Now,
Okay.
your tools of training, right? Whether that's the gym, whether that's at home, that's just the icing and the sprinkles on the cake. But like the batter is how do we just work out every single day? How do we
Okay.
just do something, whether it's going for a walk, doing some push-ups, doing some sit-ups, whatever the case may be, to benefit us to just improve. That's it, right? Like have that mindset because that's going to help you out so much. Now, in terms of like to actually answer your question, you could take 2 months off. Okay. Now, granted, the first time you go to the gym, you're gonna get what's called DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness. So
Yeah.
like it's not a right or wrong way to say like, okay, hey, I took 2 months off. I worked out on Saturday, like I did this workout routine, I felt like I got hit by a bus. Well, maybe it comes to just strategizing how are we going to work out because we took that time off. So maybe it's like, hey, we took the 2 weeks off or 2 months off, whatever the case may be, work out on a Saturday, maybe make that more just upper body. And then the next day, if we go to the gym, right? Maybe make it lower body workouts. That way it's like you're easing into it. But, with that being said, you have to listen to your body because like if let's just say Saturday you do upper body, Sunday you do lower body, you show back up to the gym on Monday and you start doing like a push workout, right? Chest, shoulders, triceps. Well, if you're still like gun ho, you got the inflammation, you got the muscle tightness, the soreness, and all that stuff, you could risk injuring yourself.
Okay.
So then it's from there also listen to your body again to say, okay, hey, let's still go to the gym. Let's utilize that time, right? Create habits by just showing up. But maybe we're not focusing on PRs. Maybe we're not lifting heavy, or maybe who knows? We just make this a full out cardio day because we're so sore, we're so depleted, or maybe I just want to walk on the treadmill, put that incline all the way up to like 12, right? And just headphones in and watch a mindset video on YouTube or something like that. Or, just get into, some binaural beats and just get some creative thinking going, right? Like there's plenty of ways to work out. What I'm getting at is like listen to your body so that way, one, you don't risk injury, and two, you're not just doing something because you're forced to, right? Or because you have to do it. Because remember, that's a bad mindset. Just like we
Yeah,
talked
you're right.
about earlier.
Okay.
I gave you like 8 different answers. Does that somehow answer it?
Yeah, I was more focused on hitting my workouts every week, no matter what. Like that is the number one thing. Like I'm gonna get my workouts in. I just didn't know if I think you already answered my question previously. Obviously, if you do 2-a-day workouts or 3-a-day workouts, you're not going to get nearly as much benefit as if you have one day where you're giving 100% to that one specific workout, is my guess. And then have a chance to recover the next day to do the next workout at 100% versus trying to do it all at one time. You're not getting the same benefit as you would if you were to do them individually, I think is the bottom line.
Yes,
Okay.
100%. But also like think in terms of like the long game here, right? And like it's just like, okay, what are the habits that I'm doing today to create better future habits for myself tomorrow? So it's like, is it way more beneficial for me instead of, working out 5 times this week, even though I'm rushed for schedule and I'm pressed on time and some days I got to do 2 days and all this, is that going to help me or is that going to hurt me for the long run? As opposed to just say, okay, hey, I'm pressed for time. This is my schedule. This is just how it is for this week. But I'm going to commit to 3 days of just going to the gym. So that way I know, like, hey, on the weeks when I have a great schedule ahead of me, I'm not so busy, I can actually just commit to those 5 days, and that's kind of like the A+ days. But it's like
Okay.
give yourself like the Navy SEALs have this as one of their quotes. People don't rise to their level of expectations or something like that. They sink to their level of training, right? So it's like for you and for everybody, raise the bar, raise your standards, right?
Yeah.
Like raise that up a little bit. I'm not saying like raise it to be like, you know, a Greek god working out every single day for 2 hours a day. Like let's be realistic, but like let's just say, hey, let's just give ourselves 3 workouts per week. And maybe on Saturday and Sunday when you know the family's more at home and you're not dealing with work, okay, hey, we got 2 workouts right there. Does that mean I can commit to sneaking out for 30 minutes Monday through Friday to just do 1 workout? That's a lot easier to look at that, you know?
Yeah.
Because what you want to do is like you want to focus mentally on like how can I get this done and like how do I look at it as Bill always says, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? So instead of looking at it as like this big huge chomping at the block for the training, how do we just look at it and just say like how do we just simplify this? Okay, if I'm giving myself right the standard of 3 workouts, no ifs, ands, or buts, that's the non-negotiables I'm giving myself per week to be at the gym working out. And if I know that 2 of those workouts out of 3 I can be done in the on the weekends, you know, when your wife's home, you know, when there's, you know, you're not dealing with work. So it's a little bit easier. Now it's okay. Hey, the big piece of the pie is how do we just do one 30-minute workout at the gym Monday through Friday? That's a way better mindset to look at than, man, I got all these workouts and I got pulled 2 a days. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's going to help
Absolutely.
you. That's going to help you in the long run stay way more consistent.